What's up, Lemonheads? Welcome back to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. I'm Emily.
And I'm Crystal.
And this week we're going to talk about hiring and all that goes with getting the word out. The hiring process, getting great applicants, and so much more. It is so much more than just posting a job description.
Yeah, it can be pretty painful and just kind of flat out not fun. One of the most unenjoyable parts of pretty much any business, but especially home service businesses. But if you've done some foundational groundwork, it can make the whole thing a little less painful. I think we could just dive right in and sip some lemonade.
Let's do it. So let's talk about what helps to drive new team members. We hear it all the time from our clients. I just need more technicians, or if I just had 2 more plumbers, we'd be able to hit our goal, or I just can't find good talent. Or even worse, like your own team members are getting poached by the competition.
Oh, Lord. You know, that one really hurts your feelings.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when people come in and they're like, hey, and you're like, oh, holding your breath because you're like, they're about to do something crazy.
They're about to quit.
They're about to quit. They're about to quit. Right now I think just overall contractors are they're in this quandary of, you want to pay well. I really don't feel like the majority of people are out here trying to underpay technicians. We tend to, as the owners, want to be a little lazy as far as training them. And so I think a lot of times we expect to get fully talented technicians and plumbers and installers and all that jazz, electricians. And then we really don't want to have to put much into them. Like if we could just put them in a truck today, that would be fantastic. Yeah. But it's just not real that way. And so we kind of have to have a little bit more of a long-term strategy, which that is like, I should get a shirt that says long-term strategy because I say it all the time. But there's so much more to this story of true hiring problems and situations than what is really at the forefront. So you got to be the hottest culture on the block to really set the pace to get new team members. Hottest place to work, best place to work, like all of that's super trendy right now. But I low-key love that trend because
and I think it's not even really a trend. Like I think it's here to stay.
I
at
agree.
Least for a while.
That's kind of what I was. Yes, that's exactly the point I was gonna make. Like I'm kind of here for it to be. Like, let's normalize being a good place to work.
Yeah.
We did grow up. I mean, I know I'm older than Emily, but when I grew up, like your grandpa, your grandma, whomever, mostly men, honestly, here in East Texas, but we're working diligently, but they're working in hot factories and long hours and lots of time away from their families and things like that. And so now, like, I really am here for the normalization of having decent and good working conditions. And so I think now, though, we kind of have to play the recruitment and retaining game. It just takes a little bit more time for us to be aware and intentional about those things.
Yep. So today we're going to dive in and really explore 2 things that you could be doing in your business to really drive some new team members through the door.
Yeah, we just narrowed it down to 2 because I could talk for like 17 hours on culture alone.
Oh, no.
We could have
6 episodes from that alone.
Part 1.
We should do that sometime.
Yeah, it's just like it would be really great if I could get that far planned out and be like part 1 through part 6. But if you have not ever met me, like culture is a super big important thing. It's one of the main reasons that I was brought on to McWilliams & Son at the very beginning. And I know Emily, when she and Chris have Real Graphics, the culture is a big deal there too. Like even the building. Yeah. So we both live, eat, and breathe culture, and we try really hard here at Lemon Seed too. They're always changing. But one thing that's been a little eye-opening for me is like as I get older, I really have to step out of my comfort zone to work towards the people that I'm trying to recruit. So I'm not always trying to recruit a 40-year-old. So if I'm doing social media and things like that,
I'm too old.
It wasn't even a thing. Thank God, like low-key, thank God that people were not recording me in school. That would have been horrible. Like we suffered enough problems, but thankfully we didn't have things like Life 360 and social media and stuff like that because I would have been in a lot more trouble than I was already in as a kid, as a teenager. But, so I think today when we pick these 2, I think they're the most important 2. That I wanted to I think these are the foundational pieces that people need. Number 1, first and foremost, I think you have to actually talk about your culture. Like it's not a secret.
Well, and I think people some older people, if they're not used to this word or they haven't really fully embraced it, like this is what people are here for, culture just sounds like a
like
word.
a buzzword.
Like,
Yes. Or it sounds like cha-ching.
or like bacteria.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Like, let's take a culture of your
Yes.
culture. Yeah. You know, when I say perception of your culture, so let's just get real for a minute, right? I absolutely cannot make everyone happy. I'm not going to win every technician. I'm not going to win over every CSR. Something is going to happen. I'm going to mess up. And I'm going to do something that really kind of put a little bruise on my culture. So you have to just be aware. Number one, we're all learning. It's very fluid. And you're gonna make stupid mistakes. You're gonna think, I probably shouldn't have been that hard on that or that easy on that. You know, I saw something the other day, and I'm gonna kind of butcher it, but it was like, you know, employees expect or understand. Let me think of the right words, but basically they're saying like whatever you're willing to tolerate is what people are going to assume is your culture.
oh yeah, absolutely.
And so I cannot think. I'm gonna try my hardest to find that exact quote, but it's something along those lines. And I was like, you know, it really sat with me like, you know, if I'm tolerating, let's use like gossip or for technicians, let's say people like you have a company meeting at 7:30 in the morning, and these few technicians, like they just have to be late. They cannot follow directions, or they won't keep their vans clean, or these plumbers are wasting product or whatever. They're just not doing what they're supposed to do. And you allow it to happen, you continue to tolerate and make excuses for it. It teaches your team like, oh, so that's the bar. That's where the bar has been set.
Sure.
You know, just like halfway doing it works.
Well, and that's the results. Like, you'll never get everyone there on time, so because you've tolerated that late culture and those people coming in late.
You know, even at Lemon Seed, like when we have our company meetings on Fridays, we meet every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. Or no, I'm sorry, every Monday morning at 8 o'clock. Our whole entire team, virtual and in office, comes on a call. And it's more than anything, it's just a little team building, a little camaraderie, like let's visit, let's talk. Normally 30 minutes, we can give a little HR update, some little small training, but more than anything, it's for us to keep our finger on the pulse. But we had to learn, like, we must get started at 8 a.m. Like, we're not going to wait till 8:10, 8:15, because I'll be honest, like, I want it to be uncomfortable, like, oh, shoot, I'm late.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to all teach each other, especially if you have a young team. If you have a younger team, a lot of them are just now learning how to be professional. And I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I mean, like, we all have to start somewhere. So, you know, it's really easy when life is like a daisical in college and things like that to be like, oh, it started at 8. It's 8:04.
Well, and they've also, like, there's been so much virtual shift and stuff to where these younger generation, they underestimate how long it actually takes to get ready, to fix your hair, to drive to work, you know.
Procrastination.
They're used to just rolling out of bed and flipping open the laptop screen, and that's it.
That's true. I forget about that. Well, it's a whole different culture that they're used to, and that's a good point. I didn't really even think of that, but that's exactly right.
But we're talking about, you know, your perception of your culture can really be a driving force to your hiring process and to recruiting the talent and things like that. But first, I think we have to identify what the culture is. What does your culture mean to your company, and how deep are you willing to go with it? We want to get noticed by our community for positive things and for our culture.
Yeah, so like here's the trick, right? You want to be picked up and noticed because of the cool things that you're doing. So let me tell you right now, some of you are going to think this is the most ridiculous thing you've ever done in your life. When I say, hey, in the middle of summer, I want you to have popsicles for your team. And when all of your team is coming in the afternoon, you're out there like the ice cream cart man, and you're giving out, I don't know, like I love Nutty Buddies, and I love like Push Pops and Pop Ice. So somebody on here resonates with those ice cream flavors, Emily. Emily's looking at me crazy. What
Pop
ice
Eyes.
cream?
I thought you said Popeyes, like the fried chicken.
No, ma'am, like Popeyes, like the TikTok trend right now
Yes.
where they're just cracking it. Yes.
Yes.
Again,
Okay.
like as a child, Popeyes was it. So
Where your mom won't buy any more popsicles, so you eat all the orange ones.
yes. Which orange is the best flavor, friend?
No, what?
Oh my gosh.
We have a term for that. It's called punk ass orange. No one wants.
Oh my gosh.
No one wants the orange.
That's terrible. Poor orange.
I know.
I'm like, I guess I'm weird. I've always liked orange stuff. One of my favorite things, this is so off topic, but one of my favorite things is those chocolate covered orange slices.
Yeah, I know. Michelle Green, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Those are my favorite too. So, you know, okay. So, but again, to this exact point right here, some of the things that you have to care about with culture are not natural to a lot of people, especially if you're males.
Sure.
Now, I'm not saying that there aren't males that are fantastic at culture, so don't get me wrong. Don't misread me there. And females, not every female is great at this. I'm just saying in general, Girls are better at it than boys, okay? But as a male, you're going to be like, I know that she is not asking me to feed everybody donuts.
Yes.
Like, I'm ready to get to work.
Like, who cares about a donut?
Yes.
That's what they say.
So, or if we say, you know what you need to do? Like, you need to have a culture of servanthood to where the leadership is willing to serve their team. And so, will you get here at 6:30 in the morning and pop out there your grill and cook some bacon and do some scrambled eggs for your team and just have like a motivational breakfast time? You're going to be like, man, first of all, that's $300. Second of all, I got to lug my grill up here. That's what I mean. That's what I mean when I say you've got to determine, like, what is it going to be? Servanthood? Is it going to be mentoring and coaching? So are you offering programs like one of our awesome clients, Comfort All Stars in Florida? He does Bible studies with his team. Mm-hmm. That's the culture that he's trying to build, is a team of people that are like-minded, that are participating in things that are important to him, that are goals of his. It's not mandatory, but it's easy to set a precedence with things like a Bible study groups, or even here, like we have a lot of guys that like want to invest, but they don't, it's not like they have millions, but they have enough money to kind of play around with. And like, so if we know that's a hobby, or we know that's something, we're all about the mentoring and the coaching. So why not offer like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring in an investment banker,
sure,
or I'm going to bring in a financial coach or whatever. And then like CSRs, like, are people struggling? Do you want to be like a resource for your team? So are you the one that they go to when they don't know how to file their taxes? Or what about people that don't understand, like my kid is struggling in school, like I've got these plans and my kid's got dyslexia and I don't know what to do. Are you that type of resource? You know, they're trying to buy their first home, so you're going to put them with the right people. I mean, so just what your culture is about. Why do you do what you do, and helping your team realize that their job at your company is merely the vehicle to hitting their own goals.
I mean, ultimately, your culture is to make them better people, you know,
Yes.
and to be invested in their life and
that means
what's important to
something.
them. Yeah.
It means something to come to work for this company. You're not just like, oh, that's where I go to work every day. And so I just encourage you, like Emily said, like really identify what that looks like. And then as the leaders, you have to be the culture. So you can't be the cussing, dirty uniform, dirtiest van, showing up late, mistreating customers, acting a fool on social media, and then be like, oh, but hey, team, I need y'all to rise to the occasion.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's game on. Like, it's game on here. Like, all eyes are on you. Like, you're the parent, and these are your children. They are watching. Do as I say, not as I do is not going to fly. Like, you have to absolutely adopt it wholeheartedly, like, with your whole being. And I know I sound like super dramatic, but honestly, like Lemon Seed, we want a culture. Emily and I never probably have pinned this out, but we do. We want a fun culture. We want an engaging and a collaborative culture. I mean, we're all creatives in some form or fashion.
I mean, that's why we named our company Lemon Seed, and we're bright yellow. I mean,
yes,
some people say it's stupid, but you know what?
You remember?
Yeah,
Boom.
and it's part of us. It's reflective of us.
And that yellow is meant to be happiness and joyful. I don't want employees that are sad to be at work. I don't want them to dread walking in our doors every day. Now, are we going to have hard days? 1,000%, of course.
Yeah.
Am I going to have hard conversations? Is Emily going to have? Sure. But at the end of the day, our culture is to literally, in East Texas words, we want to love on our team. We want to help them be better in their profession in general. Like, what are you doing to better yourself outside of Lemon Seed? Like, I can send you to a ton of trainings, but I can't force you to learn on your own. So we just try to cultivate a culture like that. So many times the idea of a culture is very, very appealing. People want it, but the work of the culture is difficult to win. My pastor the other day, Pastor Ben, you know, he loves for me to give him a little shout out on the podcast.
Farmer Ben.
Yes.
That's how I like to refer to him.
Yes. I really do not go to a cowboy church or like a farmer church. It's a First Baptist church, but okay, he does wear hey dudes, which is like my jam right now. So he's like, anyway, but he made this
his hey dudes with his overalls.
No, he didn't wear overalls. He hasn't worn overalls in a while.
Oh. Okay, good job, Pastor Farmer Ben.
Yes. But he was talking about our congregation, and he was kind of giving us a good little toe stomping moment. But he's like, you know, if you look, your congregation needs to be a mix of your community, right? So if we look around and everybody in this sanctuary looks like us, in a church situation, he was making the point, like, we need to be reaching. So the community that I personally live in is predominantly Hispanic, but I have very few Hispanic people that go to my church. And so that was his point. But when I relayed that over into culture, What I look at is I need to be surrounded by people that do look like me as far as personality wise, or act or are passionate about the same things that I'm passionate about in the overall sense, right? So, for example, if I had someone on our team who really didn't appreciate collaboration and really wasn't creative at all or organized, it would be really hard for them to be on a marketing team.
Right. Yeah.
And so, like, not that I don't want other styles of personalities, but at the end of the day, that's what's going to make them successful. And so, our culture is all about who we want to surround ourselves with. So who are we all putting in the same room and on the same team? Again, you want the different personalities, but you can't have those negative Nellies on your team.
We all have to have the ultimate same goal to drive the company, our own personal lives, the vehicle of how we do. We all got to be driving forward. And if we don't all have that same vision, someone is the weak link and is going to tear others down, or make it break or cause disruption.
Yeah, and the overall cancerous.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And what happened? So I know, like, when we first really started McWilliams and Son, when I say we this time, when we first started really focusing on culture, I mean, I was like, there is no way some of these guys are going to get in line here. I mean, you know, guys, like, I'm talking to people right now that really understand what I'm saying. Like, the guys that want to roll up to a house smoking a cigarette, throw it down on the ground, squash it. They smell like cigarette smoke. Their uniforms are dirty and things like that. Nothing against smokers, but I know a lot of people that smoke that you would never know.
Right.
Because they care a little bit more about their professional appearance. And so, again, no hate on the smokers. It's just you do have a responsibility to take care of yourself. Same thing with lots of other issues. But my argument here is I was worried that if I really push hard, I'm going to run them off. And then I'm kind of like held by the cojones on, I mean, I can't, if they all quit, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Well, so you can't be held hostage, but you can slowly but surely turn a ship around, right? So if you're driving a Carnival cruise ship, that ship doesn't just turn on a dime. You have to give it time. It takes strategy. It takes space. So same thing here. What happens when you start slowly shifting your culture to be a place of positivity and a place of light and a place of encouragement and a place of mentorship or coaching or guidance, whatever that wants to look like, and expectations and accountability? When you really start doing that, you will slowly see this ship start turning and people jump overboard because they can't deal.
Well, but that's probably who needed to go overboard, you know. And if you think about it, kind of like exponential growth curve, you know, it's real slow, but then once it starts happening, it's that snowball effect. Things really start going, and the people that need to jump, they do jump. But then you've created capacity and room for the people that are going to fit your culture to make room for them.
Absolutely. And when you start making money moves, as I call it, those are money moves. Mm-hmm. You start making no move, and people are going to start paying attention.
Yeah.
People start paying attention. So either people will go overboard because they can't deal. They'll just give up. They'll leave. They'll go start their own. They'll go work somewhere else so they can become someone else's problem. Or they'll put on the life preserver and get in line. I mean, they'll meet you over there at muster. Like, you know what? Okay, it's not so bad. So they'll kind of come around. And you're right. They'll probably never be your, like, biggest advocate of culture, but they will fall in line. It's really because they need to understand the why. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them just aren't here for the crap. They just want to go to work. So it takes a little bit more work. So Emily, I know Emily has some good ideas on this, but your culture is basically like your sales pitch. And so all of those things that we talked about, once you've identified it, you've given it a purpose and a thought, now you kind of need to talk about it, like I said. So how do you actually get the word out that you're a good place to work without bribing your own employees? But there's a lot of fun ways to highlight your culture. What do you think?
I mean, social media is one of the quickest ways. I mean, it can happen so instantaneously with very little effort. Again, it goes for complete organic engagement too. Like, oh, tagging so-and-so or so-and-so is employee of the month and getting that shared. I mean, we talk about that all the time, but like, it's so little, but it can drive so much, because that's ultimately the number one thing that people say. It just looks like so much fun to work at Lemon Seed.
Oh, yeah.
They have no idea like how hard we work or like how stressful it can be sometimes or things like that. But like the culture that we do ultimately have at our core and what we portray on social media is very realistic, but it attracts people to want to even investigate, would they be a good fit for Lemon Seed?
Absolutely. And what you're trying to do here, guys, as a contractor, you're probably already doing so many of these things. I mean, you probably feed your team.
Right.
You probably have weekly meetings. You're probably giving spiffs, and people are like, well, I don't want, Crystal, I don't want people to think I do it for the glory. Okay. Are you doing it for the glory, right now, no, we're doing it so that people know that looks like a fun or cool. If you don't like the word fun, maybe you look like a solid place to work. So how about that for these men and women that are looking for careers
or caring even?
Yes,
You know,
I mean, he cares about his people.
Well, and there's some of us may already be doing these things. Like we already have a company meeting, but like, what could you do just to take it up one notch? You know, like I'm thinking, what did McWilliams and Son do not too long ago with all the pop rocks? We're rocking summer.
Oh yes, so we have a little piece of our company meeting that is somehow, so it said way to keep rocking through summer.
Yeah.
And so we had all these like 80s hairband wigs and inflatable guitars, and we picked out guys out of our team that we knew would have a good time with it, and we played like a rock song, and they had to like show off their best rocker moves. And then they gave the winner, like we voted by winner, and they got like a $25 gift card. And then at every seat was a pair of sunglasses and pop rocks.
Yes, like that tiny. So even those very introverted guys, they're not going to get up and air guitar
Not
play
all
or
of
whatever.
them.
But like some of that, they're like they could appreciate the sunglasses, or like they'll go home and tell my wife, like
It was so ridiculous, but
you know, they just create that caring environment. There's little intentionalities that you can do to your everyday inner business workings to make it a little bit more fun or solid or caring, and show your team that they matter.
And so like this is a combination. So when we talk social media, like we could straight up do a whole episode on social media for culture, but here's a couple of ideas that I wanted to give you. So like Emily said, employee of the month. So employee of the month is great, and you can give them a certificate. It doesn't even have to be something major, but you know what the most impactful piece of that is? You as the owner or ops manager, whatever whatever your structure looks like, but someone in big leadership taking a picture, handing them the certificate, put your arm around the person,
Right.
Or make sure it's okay. Like, hey, I'm going to stand by you, or whatever you got to do. Okay, I don't know what state y'all live in. In Texas, just get up on them, just hug on them. But I don't know. I feel like in like California, you should be like, can I stand this close to you? Because I'm going to put my hand on your shoulder. But I don't know. But I also live in Texas, so I have a weird thoughts about like what happens in other. I've just seen like crazy stuff happen. So
in Texas, it's pretty acceptable to hug somebody.
Yes. Like, I mean, yes. So you could like Trey, my brother, like he'll stand up there with them, put your arm around them, hold the certificate together, big smiles. And then I always get a quote from Trey about that employee of the month. So, okay, I'm talking to contractors, right? Do you think that Trey literally knows every single employee when you start growing really quickly? No, but he can do some research to say, oh yeah, okay, I love Christian. He does a fantastic job in the warehouse, started as a CSR, and now he's running our warehouse. He's such a great team player. And so you put that quote and you put that picture on social media and you tag the winner, and now all of a sudden your company is bragging on this guy. It cost you $30 maybe to do what you're doing, and a little bit of energy, and like, yes, you have to be in a picture. But now his mom, his grandma, his sisters, his wife, his cousins, his college friends, all of these people are like, way to go. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Well, and they also show like maybe where he started off and where he's moved up in the company and doing different things in the company. It's showing that this is more than just a job. It's an actual career that he can grow with. Yeah, yes. And you notice.
And you notice people. And like, I think another big thing is like, you're right. It's like showing the progression of that team member. But also like, so again, now flip your head here. So you're a potential employee sitting at home, you're scrolling through Facebook, and it's been a rough day. You've been working 12s. You're tired, you're hot, you feel like you don't make any money, whatever's going on in your head. And you scroll through there and you say, oh, Yellow Bear Air just gave another employee of the month. Like, oh, and that person started as CSR and now they're running like, huh. So I'm going to keep scrolling, right? Yeah. Odds are I'm going to keep scrolling. But I have seen that and I have now acknowledged it. So it not only helps with my marketing, right? Top of mind awareness, but now it's kind of put this little bug in my ear like, huh. That looks like a pretty interesting place to work, because that next week he's going to see the picture of our leadership team in 80s hair and rock stars and say, we've enjoyed rocking through this summer with all of our clients.
And then they're going to see a picture that when you sponsored the Habitat for Humanity golf tournament and you took your team to this banquet or whatever, like
there's just a way to be humble.
Sure. And then all of a sudden, whenever you do post that now hiring, I see them all the time. I have been thinking that would be a great place to work.
Yes. And it takes, I'm going to tell you, everybody struggles. So Lemon Seed has a full social media department because we know how much time it takes. Trust us, we know how hard it is to be consistent and like, oh my God, I got to get his picture, then I got to post it, and I have to write a caption, and then what if my picture's not good? All that is, you're right, it's hard. I never said it was easy to do culture, but if you're going to be intentional about culture, I'm going to tell you one of the biggest things you're going to have to be intentional about is social media, and just being out there and being prevalent. So the next thing I'll tell you is sending a newsletter to your current customers.
Yeah.
And in those newsletters, now, again, I'm going to age myself a little bit. Emily would probably be fine with an email newsletter. I would be fine with an email newsletter. But if I got home in the afternoon and I opened up all this junk mail and bills, and I get to this nice newsletter from my air conditioning company, and on the front of it is like a feature or like a human interest story, I'm going to read it.
I would definitely open it up. I would at least open it, skim through it, probably a little bit more than I would through my email.
Yeah, and at least, and what you don't want it to come into the mailbox and it be like $99 drain clearing, okay? Because that's not what it's about.
It's junk mail. That's junk mail.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you right now, you cannot put an ROI specifically on these types of things.
Yeah.
What this is doing, these newsletters, yes, eventually, does it help with an outbound strategy? Can you do follow-up emails? Can you offer little incentives? Of course. Let's just put that to the side. What I want you to do, though, is create a newsletter that goes out to all your existing customers, and on the front, like, feature the faces behind the phone. Feature a customer. Feature something. Feature that you donated a playhouse that you built for Habitat for Humanity. Feature the food bank. Feature something and talk about your relationship with that organization or that team member or whatever. And then when you open it up, give a little bit of content like how to check for carbon monoxide or tips to get ready, how to clear your gutters. And then over here, have your CSR salsa recipe. And then down here, talk about how you donated 100 pounds of dog food. A lot of you, this is bothering you because you wouldn't have any content.
Yeah.
You don't do none of it.
Well, guess what? You probably don't have that exciting of a culture.
Yeah.
You know?
So if you don't know somebody on your team that cooks or does something and you don't know how to feature the CSRs, like you know nothing about them, or you can't think of the last time you actually supported anything in your community, well, then that's the reflection of what your culture is.
Yeah, yeah.
So your culture's basic. You're basic, but but guys, this is so easy to fix. It feels like it isn't. Now, it probably is harder to do than it is to say, but I just want to tell you, like, newsletters is another one that now you're going out to all these customers, you're showing them how good you are to your team, how good you are to the community, and then you might just say, like, we're always looking for new team members. And so when Grandma Susie gets that, and then the next thing she knows, her grandson's out and about, and she's going to say, well, you know, like, that Yellow Bear Air, I got their newsletter, and it said they're doing a home service academy, a paid training. Like, have you considered it? So just get out of your head about a lot of this.
Sure.
And preach what you're doing.
Yeah. So social media is great. Newsletters. Also, any type of press release. It can be a forgotten about tactic to spread the word, but it's really crucial.
You never know what'll get picked up.
Oh, absolutely. But also, like, you can feature your team, like, in your commercials, any videos that you're doing. Let them give the radio speech or whatever. You don't always have to only focus on just the owner or the top tier leadership. You know, by including some of your other key team members,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
that's just another great way to show, again, more opportunity.
Well, especially if they want to.
Sure, absolutely.
If they want to dress up in your mascot and wave at kids, or they want to be the voice in your jingle radio commercial, like, yes, okay, I know what some of y'all are thinking. Like, well, what if they leave? Okay, what if they leave? Like, we're not going to live our life afraid of with the outliers. We're not going to live our life over here worried about the what ifs. We can't. We just can't. So,
and don't let that keep you from actually doing anything.
Amen.
You
Procrastination is, or perfection. What was it?
Perfection is really procrastination in disguise.
Yes.
I've got a whole episode coming out about that one.
Oh, okay. Amen. Amen. And so I think that monthly emails, kind of highlighting things. So one of the our clients, our past clients, used to email out literally an email featuring a customer of the month. And at first I was like, but then I thought I would so read that because I'm nosy. Right? Like, I would read, like, who was Yellow Bear Air's customer of the month? Like,
Was it me?
I don't even know them.
Oh.
And so, like, y'all use them? I didn't know y'all used them. And then I'm going to go, oh, that's so nice. Delete. But what did I just do? I just engaged with your brand.
Well, and then, like, when I see you, like, if I saw, like, hey, girl, I saw you featured, you know, like,
Yes.
you're like, okay, then they're for sure, that's my company,
Yes.
you know.
You're just breeding conversation, right?
For sure. So we've talked a lot about the culture and why it's so important and kind of some ways to share your culture and stuff. But what's another way? We mentioned there's two. So we talked about the culture, but what's the second way, Crystal?
So, okay, this is a little unconventional, but when we talk about culture, I think we should incentivize our teams to be a recruitment generator.
But you're like, I already pay them a paycheck. Like,
Yeah, I'm not paying them anything else.
Well,
Yeah, so you lose, friend.
yeah,
You lose.
it takes a little bit more effort. Like, you got to get past the bare minimum.
So I think the way I look at this is like birds of a feather flock together, right? So if you look at your team, so if you were to take a little audit of your team and you would be, okay, there's Joe over there who's, and I'm just going to make up some stuff. Like I'm not, anyway, let's say Joe is married and he's very driven to provide well for his family. So he's married, his wife works, they've got a couple of kids, they're active in their church or they're active in an organization, whatever that means in your market. And he's very loyal and he's very dedicated. He comes to work and he does great. And then the next guy to him is a young single guy. Same thing, still hits goals, still works, still does things well, still very organized, clean cut. Okay, those are two people that you would probably want in their friends group, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you got Billy over here, who Billy can't seem to get to work on time, and probably like he's the one that had your van at the liquor store, and someone called and you had to go look on GPS to see who was there, or he's the one that like never can wear the right hat or everything, that's probably exactly who he hangs around, right? So
exactly.
If Billy's an alcoholic, probably is everybody else that's in his friends group, okay? So we need to be monitoring and auditing, but identify those key personalities on your team. Like if I could have 20 Stevens, I want 20 Stevens. So if you incentivize your team, so let's talk about how this interacts though with culture. So I have to do what it takes. So it's kind of like marriage. What it took to get that partner is probably what it's going to take to keep them. So same thing. If what it took to get those good guys, maybe it took a 4-day work week, or it took being able to be off a week in the summer so they can have a vacation with their kids, or commission structure, and you wanted to, or you're giving birthdays off, whatever that looks like, whatever it took that is meaningful to them, that's what you need to play off of to win those people constantly. You need to be winning your team every single day.
Well, and actually figuring out what does win to them. Because sometimes we think the only thing is just throwing more money at them.
Yeah.
And that's not it for everyone, especially this younger culture, this younger demographic.
Work-life balance.
Yes. They would take a day off versus having a little pay increase.
There's a guy on TikTok right now that is cracking me up. I mean, he's got a potty mouth, but he's like, because he says, he pretends to talk to his supervisor. So he's like, "What's up, Jim?" And Jim says, "Oh, you've done a great job." And he goes, "Don't say it, Jim." And Jim's like, "We can't wait to give you." And he goes, "Don't say it, Jim." And he goes, "A pizza party." And Jim's like, "I hate pizza, Jim. I hate pizza." But the joke, what resonated with me from that is, we don't always have to go, to Emily's point, to money or to a little, let me throw you pizza. Sometimes it is like, you know what he needs? Like, I'm looking over there and he's got 3 kids. We all know you get 18 summers with a kid, right? Before they're out on their own. So, maybe I'm incentivizing like, hey, here's how you can earn a trip to Disney World. I mean, so what does it take, y'all? What does it take? And then those people, how do I get those people? So what we need to figure out is, how can I incentivize the perfect little family guy over here and this single young dude? Like, how do I incentivize both of them to bring me their friends and family that are like them?
No, absolutely.
How do I create a culture that encourages people to refer their friends? So I'm telling you right now, and I'm not really saying this to be braggadocious, but yesterday, Emily and I need to hire for another position here at Lemon Seed. And I was like, and I'm not bragging about this, but I'm proud of us for getting to this place. Emily says, if we post that, we're going to be blown up because of the position's local. A lot of our friends would, and we get lots of comments, and we're humbled by that. Like, we're not bragging about that. We work hard to be somewhere that people want to work. But the same thing goes for McWilliams & Son. We do not struggle really to get applicants. Now, sometimes you struggle to get what people would consider a qualified applicant, but because we're always talking about, we're in the people building business. Every single flipping one of y'all should be in the people building business. You should want to provide good wages, not just good wages, great wages, the best benefits plan, the best opportunities, the best growth plans. You should want to be that employer. But if you're a butt, and you're hateful, and you're always like threatening with pay, and I'm going to dock, that is the culture. That's what you're setting. And so no one wants to bring their cousin into the hellhole, right? So if it's a very positive, when you say, hey, okay, guys, I'm getting ready to hire, I need 2 more plumbers, and we're going to train them. You want your team to be like, hey, I got 3 friends, I got 2 buddies, I got my cousin, my brother's been wanting to get in here. This is East Texas life. My brother's been on the pipeline for 15 years. Like, he's really trying to get in off the pipeline. He's trying to get in off the oil rigs. He's trying to get in. He's trying to be home. He wants to be home every night. We hear that every single time we have an academy.
Yes.
The problem becomes they're not financially prepared, so I can also go off on that. But for the most part, we generate our own flow of new employee possibilities. And so, but that's because we work every single day on taking care of who we have.
Because ultimately, your employees are your culture.
Yes. Who do you have? I mean, that's why, like, right now, I try to coach. Like, I can't tell them what to put on social media, but I can be like, hey, should we be cussing out the sheriff on social media? It's not really a good play.
Yeah.
You know, or just giving advice like, hey, this is, some things I've noticed. But at the end of the day, guys, like, you have to take responsibility for your team and what they can do. So
and sometimes incentivizing them is just also kind of bringing to their attention, like, oh, we're hiring. I know sometimes guys can get like in their own thing. They're just doing they forget like, oh, I should probably mention that to somebody, to my friend who has been looking, like, we're hiring.
Yes, or they'll say, oh, yeah, I forget about my cousin. He's been trying to get home or trying to do this. And I just think that you have so much opportunity, like, right in your own business. And for those of you that maybe only have 2 or 3 technicians, right, what are you doing in the community that makes people go, I love her or I love him. You should go work for him. So if you're a member, let's say you're a smaller company, let's say you're less than $3 million and you are active in your chamber of commerce. Every single opportunity that I had, I would say, I'm Crystal Williams. I'm here representing Lemon Seed Marketing, where we are always looking for good technicians, where we are always looking for good plumbers. We are always looking for good installers, electricians, roofers, fencers, whatever it is. And so if you say that enough times, people are going to say, who was just telling me they were hiring?
Yes.
Oh, it's Emily. It's Crystal, whatever. So, you can sway people into paying attention, right? So if you do what's right will come to you. And I think it's just important. I really think it's super important, and we undervalue that. And so at one point I am talking about a bonus. So you know what? You bring me somebody that I'm able to hire and put into our academy, it's $1,000 after they've been here 60 days. I can tell you right now, if I brought you someone that was great, you would be happy to pay me $1,000.
Oh, yes. That $1,000 is so...
in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
I mean, when you're trying to produce, $300,000 a year per employee, that $1,000 for a year. And then you know what? Every year that employee stays with them, give them $500. So if I bring on Emily in the first 30 days, 60 days, they sign on, they do everything, I get $1,000. And then on Emily's 1-year anniversary, and 2-year anniversary, and 3-year anniversary, I get another $500. What I am going to say when Emily calls me, because she's my friend, and says, hey, I'm just really I'm burned out this summer. I think I'm going to look for something else. You know what? I'm going to be like, are you sure? Like, maybe we should talk about it, right? Because now my teammate has a little skin in the game here. And so there's that. And then there is the opportunity to reciprocate that. So, what if you were to